Welcome back, guys. In this lecture, what I would like to do is continue working on creating our new category. So to get this thing started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a client-side validation. And I would start that over here in the admin dashboard component. Okay, so we're gonna have to import the validator. Let's see. So if I'm gonna open up one of the old components that we did in the past. Let's go with the sign in, and the package that we used was this validator. Okay, we imported we installed it and we brought these in. So all I'm gonna do, because we're gonna be validating the category, right? That's pretty much the only input in currently that we want to validate. So the only thing I could see that I want to validate it for is to check if the input field is empty. Okay, so from the sign-in component, I can just copy this whole thing right here, go over to the admin dashboard, and I'm just gonna paste it right inside here. So now I'm able to use this is empty method or validation. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so client-side validation. Okay, so let's continue with that. And the validation that's going to be done over here in the handle category submit. Okay, so essentially once the user presses the submit button, this handle category submit will be fired off. Okay, this is exactly where I want to check for the validation. So what I'm going to do here is actually, I'm going to do that right here, right underneath event prevent default. I'm going to use that is empty method. No, actually, this has to be as a conditional. So I'm going to do if. Okay, if, and then I'm going to do an else. The else is if the validation passes. So here in this if case, what I'm checking for is I'm checking if is empty. And the argument that we have to pass in is the category. Okay, this right here, the category state. We're checking that to see if the user actually put in anything inside the input field. So we're checking that. So if is empty, then we want to send off an we want to set an error. Okay, but now currently we can't use errors because we haven't created any state for the errors, or we haven't imported the error method. Or I will show you shortly when we had in the helpers method here. Actually, let me show you here. Where are we at? Okay, so in the message under helpers, remember we created this in the past. We created this JSX code, and it's a very small snippet of code here, and essentially it displays the error message. And we also have one for the show success message. We're going to be using both of that. Okay, but we're going to have to import that. But for now, we will get to that. But for now, the next thing what I want to do is let's see here. Okay, so we want to be able to, let me mark this off here. We want to be able to create a state for the error, success, and loading. Okay, and we will do that right over here, right below the category. I'm going to do const. Let me start with the error first. It's going to be called error message, and then the method to set that, to change that state, is set error message, like that. All right, and that'll be use state. Initially, it's going to be an empty string. And we can go ahead and I'm just going to copy this whole thing here, paste it underneath, and we're just going to change this because this one's going to be for the success message. Okay, success message, set success message. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, but that noise, if you can hear, there's rain that's in the background. Yeah, it's raining pretty hard here. I live in Florida, so we get a lot of rain. All right, so here right now I have success message and error message. All right, so let's see what else. There was something else that I had to bring in. Oh yeah, the loading, right? We want to during this process of making that HTTP request to the backend, That could take time, right? The network might be slow, whatnot, or even making a fetch to the database. That takes time. So in the meantime, we want to let the user know that it's loading. So we want to give them an indicator. So we got to create some state for that. Say loading, set loading. Let's see here, use state. Initially, we just want to set it to false, all right, initially. All right, so now that we have these three, we're on the right path. All right, so let's go ahead and mark this off. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we need to import these helper functions. Thankfully, we had created them in the past, so all we have to do right now is import them into the component that we want to make use of them, and that is inside our admin dashboard. So right here below the is empty, what I want to do is let's start off with our messages. So I'm going to do import from, let's see, go back one directory, and then we're going to go into the helpers, and we want message. Okay, that's where we have all of our message JSX code, and the ones we want is show error message, and we also want the show success message. All right, and finally we want to import our loading, and that is also in the helpers folder. We got to go back one directory. Let's see, go helpers, and then that is inside the loading file. All right, and we're gonna, the method was called show loading. Good. So now we had imported all of our essential helper functions that we're gonna make use of. Now we want to display them. Okay, I'll display all three of them inside of, it will be inside of our, yes, right in here, show category model. Okay, let me show you something. So if I click on this add category, where I want to make use of this is in the body portion, right in this area, right above this category label. I want to have whether it's a error message, success message, or even the loading. I want all of them, if they were to appear right in this area here. So in order to make that happen, that's going to be in the body section here of our modal. So remember, we have three sections for the modal: modal header, modal body, and modal footer. It is over here, the modal body, that we want to make use of this. All right, so we're going to have to make some conditions here. Let's start off with our messages. So we're going to say if, all right, so if error message, all right, so we're checking the state, error message. If this is true, then show error message, like that. Okay, and then the next one is, let's say, if success message, if that's true, then show success message. And remember, it's parentheses because it's a method. Okay, so we got those. And then finally, the one, what was it, for the loading, right? All right. So actually, you know what? Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different. For the loading, I'm going to make this a little bit different. We could essentially do the same thing here, right? And copy down here and say if loading, then show loading. However, what I want to do things a little different. Okay, what I want to do is that if this icon, this loading icon appears, this input is going to disappear. And all you're going to see is that loading icon going back and forth. Once that HTTP response from the backend server returns to the client or to the browser, this will reappear, okay? And the loading icon will disappear. All right, I'll show you exactly how that's going to look like momentarily. All right, so but to make that happen, we're going to have to, okay, I'm going to have to make a conditional here. I'm going to do it right in here. I'm going to do, let's see. Okay, let's see. If loading, If loading, then wait, yeah. If loading, then do something. Otherwise, do something else. All right. All right, so if loading, we want to show loading, and yeah, show loading, and then here is if it's not loading. So we can take all this right here, the label and the input, delete it from this area here, and just paste it right inside here, just like so. All right, let's see, we're gonna error here. All right, but yeah, okay, yeah, because now these two elements are adjacent to each other, and in React, remember, elements that can't be adjacent to each other. Otherwise, we have to resolve this, we can use a fragment like this, and then now I can delete that and place it inside the fragment. So now we shouldn't get an error. Okay, fragment is not defined. Okay, well, we have to import that, and that's part of the React library. So you would import that over here. Okay, now save it. Let's see what we get. All right, good. All right, so now it's working. All right, so that should have done the trick. All right, so let's see, how are we gonna test this thing out? All right, so let's see here. All right, so first let's check out. Remember, we in the very beginning of this lecture, we had done our validation, client-side validation, to check if it's empty. All right, so let's check for that first. It's empty now. So if I press submit, okay, wait, hold on. Let me go in my other window here. Why didn't that work? Let me try this again. Submit. Let's see my network tab. What's going on here? Okay, no. What happened here? What am I missing here? Display error. All right. If loading, then show loading, right? Yeah, show loading. Show loading. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, right here. Because over here in the handle submit, we have to use these change the state values, right? So over here in the if is empty category, okay, so if is empty category, we want to set error message, right? So we're going to do set error message. Wait, give me a second here. Actually, you know, I take that back. Wait here. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so set error message, and then we're gonna pass in that error message, or let's see, let's pass in the error message, say, please enter a category. All right, just like that. All right, so let's give that a test. Let's check that out. All right, go back to add category. This is empty, right? Oh, try it again, and then submit. Okay, why was that empty? Set error message. Set error message. Okay, let's go back here to the show modal. Oh, okay. So where we did our conditional in the modal, right? Modal body, we did our conditional. If error, then show error message. However, for the argument, we have to actually pass in the error message, and that is the value in the state, which is the error message, just like this. And before I forget, let me actually pass it also here in the argument for the success, because okay, because it's going to be the same. We both get arguments for it's empty, right? Submit. There we go. Please enter category. Now watch if this message is gonna persist. It's not gonna go away as I'm typing in, right? Well, we don't want that message to just continue on. Ideally, what we want is that the user is going to see the message, and then the moment that they start typing in the input, assuming that they're correcting their issue, that's when we want to remove this error message. So in order to make that happen, let's see. All right, to the handle submit, or yeah, handle category submit. Oh no, actually the handle category changed because this is triggered each time there's an input. The user is clicking in the input. So here's where we want to set error message and set it back to an empty string. And we can also do the same for the success. Just change its name here to set success message to empty. Okay. So let me show you. So add category, click submit, please enter category. Then now the moment I click on the keyboard once, it's gone, right? That's exactly how we want it. All right, so that's taken care of. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and, so we see that the error message is being displayed, but now let's check for the success message. And that will be over here, this success message. Yeah, but you know what? But above, before we start this conditional check, let's start the loading process, right? Let's go ahead and set loading to true, okay? And then over here, no, actually, you know what? Let me hold off on the set loading here. I don't need this now. Okay. So for the success message, let's see, else. So in this else block, this is when things are considered they succeeded, right? All right. Yes. All right. So at this point here, yes. Right here. Actually, I'm gonna have to take all this code here, because it copy that to your clipboard, and then paste that right inside here. All right. And right before we start this here, before this executes here, because remember, this is the function that's going to start the whole process of making the HTTP request. So this is actually where we want to begin the process of, we want to set loading to true. So over here, we're going to do set loading to true. Okay. Set loading to true. Yeah. Okay. Set loading to true. And this is going to be a promise-based function, right? Because we'll look at the API. Let me open this back up here in the category. All right, remember that we made the Axios, and remember that Axios is promise-based. So we're returning the response here, and we can use a then and a catch here. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna do a .then and also a .catch. And then a catch, that's if we get an error here. And I'm gonna do, first of all, if we get an error, we're gonna set the loading back to false. And I want to set the error message to what we get back from the response back to, from the server side. And that's gonna be in the error response data, and then the message is error message. Now this piece of data, this property right here, this is gonna match the property I'm gonna call it. I'm personally gonna call it error message on the back end, okay? But this portion here, this response data, that's part of Axios, okay? But this portion here is the message I'm gonna call it, error message, okay? So error response data, error message. So we're setting that into the state set error message. All right, and then if we in the then block, we also get a response back. And I'm gonna do, first of all, set loading back to false. And we're gonna do set success message to response data success message. And this, again, this property here, I will also call create in the backend as well. All right, so we got the set loading, set success message. All right. So let's see here. Okay. All right. So at this point right now, I want to go all the way to the controller, back to the where are we at? Let me hear. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go back to my backend to the controller category, and here in the category controller, we want to. I'm gonna replace this console log, and I'm gonna do. Let's see. I'm gonna return. I'm gonna say response response JSON, because this is just for testing, by the way. Actually, I'm gonna give it a timer because I want to be able to see. Actually, you know what? All right, so response JSON. Yeah, let me do this for now. Response JSON, and I'm gonna send back a success message. Message. Remember that I said I was gonna name the property success message and error message. All right. Well, this is a success message, and I'm gonna do category, or actually, let me do this. Let me do backticks. I'm gonna do request body and then the category, because the input fields are gonna be attached to the body, right? And this is the input field, the category. So category, let's see, this request body category was created with exclamation points. Okay, just like that. So let's go ahead and test this out. Yeah, all right, so an add category, let's do meat. I want to add a category for meat. And if I submit, look at that, meat was created. Let me do that again. Let me enter another one. Let me do desserts. Submit, desserts was created. Great, so now that response is being sent from the back end. All right, so that's great. But know that this has not actually created a category inside the database. I will get to that part, and that will be officially done inside the controller when we start making our database logic, create our logic for the database. But now we see that we're getting response from the back end. Okay, and we see that we have the error message being displayed and a success message being displayed. But now we have yet to see how the loading icon would appear, right? And that's what I want to do right now. So the way we could test that out is over here. I'm going to do a set timeout. Okay, do like that. And for the second argument, we get an amount of time it will take. I'm going to do this, and then let's see, that's 5 seconds, and then I want to place this inside there. Okay, and remove that from here. So after 5 seconds, this is gonna appear. So in the meantime, while the 5 seconds is being passed, or the time is passing up, or going through 5 seconds, we're going to see a loading icon. So I'm going to save that, and let's go ahead and see how that loading icon looks like. So add category, meat, and then submit. All right, you see the input disappeared, and we get the And then after 5 seconds, then the error message appeared. But you notice that the icon was not centered. So let's go ahead and center that. Okay, so we can do that. Where did we have that? All right, show loading. Okay, over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this show loading around a div tag around it, like this. And now I'm gonna have to put an open curly brace and closing curly brace around the show loading. And I am going to add a class name here and do text center. Save that, and let's give this another try. So add category, let's do meet, submit, and now it's centered. See? You see that? Let me show you something, another thing. I'm gonna do this again. And if you notice here, look at this portion right here. There's actually a little bubble there, but it's white, so you can't see it. So what I want to do is, because it actually looks like an open space there, like a gap, and I don't want it to appear that way. So I can easily fix that over where I have the loading JSX code that's inside my helpers. And these are little minor fixes. You don't have to do it, but for me, I'm going to take care of that now. I'll just do it. All right, so that's going to be in the client, the source, and helpers loading. All right, so this is right here. If you look at the spinner for text light, that's the one that I want to remove. I'm just going to remove that. Save. Close this up. And let's give that another try. To desserts. Submit. There you go. So now we don't have that gap there. All right. And after 5 seconds, desserts was created. Great. All right. There's one more problem here I want to fix though. Look, you see we have the error message here, or we have the success message here. If I close this window here and then say I want to create another category, so I click here, it's still there. So what I want is that I want this to disappear if the user clicks on the X, or if they click on this button, close button, or even if they click outside of this modal window here. Okay, so to make that happen, let's see. I'm gonna have to attach an on-click event handler. And over here in the show category modal, the very outermost div tag, I'm gonna add an event listener. I'm gonna do on click, and I'm gonna call this handler handle. Let's see, handle messages. Yeah, handle messages, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna have to create that event handler, and I will do that right under the, actually, yeah, right over here, right above handle category change. So let's do handle messages. We're not going to be making use of the event object, but still pass that in as an argument from, and then okay, and then what I want to do is set error message to false, set error message to empty string, and then the same for a success, just like that. All right, and save that. And if I go back now look. All right, so let's say drinks. Let's add a category for drinks. Submit. It's loading. All right, drinks was created. And then I'm just gonna close this modal window like this. And then if I decide to add another category and go back, that message is gone. All right, so that is it. All right, we're still not done. We have some more work to get done, to be completed. But for now, we're on a good path, and we're doing good. And let's continue on, and I'll see you in the next video.